The new steward, C.J.P. Ogard, was a local man who embraced the traditional way of farming with his love of horses. He moved his family to the farm in 1922, and the quiet life experienced over previous years was about to change with four rambunctious sons. The three older boys helped on the farm regularly with milking and field work, while Irvin, the youngest, kept the atmosphere lively. By now, most of the inmate population was shifting to the elderly, and while the older boys sometimes became irritated with their housemates, they sheepishly admitted to being attached. The normal day began at 5 a.m., and there was a blind woman who would wake them to begin chores only to realize they had several more hours to sleep. Another inmate, John, believed the sheriff was after him and would hide in the outbuildings. Often the boys were called away from their work to find him and bring him to the house. One time, John had gotten stuck while hiding in a haystack, and the boys, trying to get chores done, ignored his cries for help. At supper, John told their father of their indifference, causing injury to his throat from calling out for so long, and they were chastised. Sometimes, when the day was hot, they would walk past a nearby school to spend the day swimming in the river for a break in their routine. Although Ogard kept a working farm and busy household, he made it a point to take all of the residents to the county fair every summer. It was then, in dismay, that the older boys realized that a family outing also included up to 15 other people. They had envisioned meeting up with friends and girls at the fair, but they were assigned to keeping the elderly men together and safe. As it turned out, the inmates coached the boys, and they met several girls that day. Irvin, on the other hand, spent most of his time near the house, befriending many of his new grandparents. The large house became a playground and often tormented his older brothers, hiding in the laundry chute when they chased him. He also liked to get into trouble to the amusement of the inmates. On one occasion, he converted a bicycle pump into a cannon, blowing a rock clean through the wall of the hayloft. Not unlike other stewards, Ogard commissioned for changes while employed on the farm. He flatly refused the previous burial practice, and the indigents were no longer placed in the pasture despite the lower costs. He also implemented the idea to deliver farm commodities to the citizens of Fremont during the Depression. Taking pride in his farming skills, the farm was awarded a medal in 1932 from the Dairy Association for its butter fat content. Breaking from tradition often took inmates with him on trips to town so they could visit friends or attend church, and defended them against those who would be cruel. The family was disappointed to lose the bid for steward in 1933 and eventually moved to Bridgeport, Nebraska to raise and train horses. D. McWhirter and his wife won the bid for stewardship in 1933. The household was peaceful with all elderly residents, but the drought carried on, bringing hordes of grasshoppers to feed on what little crops there was. Residents remember a thick layer of red Kansas dust on the windowsill every morning. Newspapers reported running water on the 1 inch wide cracks in the ground for an hour without creating a puddle. The McWhirters' young grandson came to live with them in 1934 and remembers getting his first man suit while living there, woven from live ants, which he hated. He got along quite well with all of the elderly residents except for one sour old man. He'd been a jeweler at one time and sat each day at a desk, scaring the young boy with scowls when he came near. On the day the boy was to leave and return to his mother, the old man gave him a drawing he'd been working on of the farm's team of horses. He treasured that drawing of Tom and Jerry into his own senior years. Despite the hardships, McWhirter took all of the inmates to dinner in Fremont every Saturday night as a treat and stopped to watch the beautiful sunset on the return trip home. When Fremont installed their first electric streetlights, there was a dance with lots of food, and the steward made it possible for everyone to attend the day-long celebration. In 1940, with the end of the Depression, new federal and state assistance programs were in place for the needy. Despite keeping the property under county ownership, the poor farm system was abolished. With the position of steward no longer available, the McWhirters left the farm and moved to Fremont. Refusing to cast out the remaining elderly inmates, the county rented the farm on a sharecropping basis to Widener in 1940, agreeing to pay him $18 per man per month to aid in their care. Old age assistance payments from the federal government was not enough for these men to live on their own, and they relinquished the money to Widener to stay in the house. This arrangement was satisfactory to all until the last inmate died in 1944. Widener was a local man known to many, and with the poor farm not officially in operation, the misconception of the institution began to fall away. Farmers commonly helped each other at harvest, and with the drought finally over, Widener participated in the shared harvests. Neighbors were welcome to come to visit and share in the bounty of fruit from the large orchard. After many years, the poor farm was finally accepted by the community.